Hello, everyone, and sorry for the delay. We had some technical difficulties and had to take care of some kids going to lunch, but we welcome you to our second broadcast of the Genius Hour. And today we have three special guests. Miss Alyssa Morris, sixth
Hello.
grade teacher from Canyon View Elementary, and Jon Nakano,
Hello?
also from Canyon View. And we have from Portola Springs, fifth grade teacher Phillip Campos.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
Everyone, and sorry for the delay. We had some technical difficulties. Oh, who's got the echo?
It sounds like I'm broadcasting here in my classroom. Some more difficulties. There we go.
Oh, love it. Okay, so we have two viewers right now, guys. So better say hello. I don't know who they are, but we want to give a shout out because I'm sitting here at the district office right now. So if you see people walking by behind me there, over there, we want to say hi to the Ed Tech team. They wanted us to say hi to them, and everybody else at the district office. We want to say hello. Today we are going to be talking about classroom design and designing classrooms to further enhance student learning. And a little feedback. Okay, we have some interesting. Why don't you guys each give your thoughts on that topic? We could start with Alyssa, because ladies go first. Right?
Ladies go first. Well, my classroom is, if you ever walked into it, it's a little bit. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback. I apologize. It's a little bit different than a typical classroom would be, and I really have tried to create a space where students can dream and they can be in an environment where they feel like they can thrive, and just really try to embrace creativity in what I've kind of put on the walls. I have a little quote wall in the back. You can kind of see that back there, and just create an opportunity for them to be inspired daily and really talk about how it's not just my classroom, it's our classroom, and create that kind of community effect in my classroom environment. So, yeah.
Awesome. How about you, Jon?
Well, I think the hardest part about classroom design is that square model that we're given as a classroom. So it's always, we're trying to make the best use of that available space that you have. So we've gone away from the rows. We have two very concentric circle designs, or two places where there's always that opportunity for collaboration. You always want to make sure that I try to design it so the kids always have someone to face. I know it's hard when you have that control over noise level and whether or not you think the kids are engaged or not, if they're paying attention or not, but having someone that they can always communicate with and look to for support. That kind of collaborative model works a lot in my classroom that we deal with.
Yeah. And Phil?
So, like Jon, I was trying to get away from this whole Squarespace design. My very first year, I had SAI2 push-in, and so with our aides, we had around 40 people in the classroom, and I just couldn't get around. And so my girlfriend, who teaches at Springbrook, and I were talking about different ways to work around that. And so we found a way to eliminate 16 of our chairs by lowering half of our desks and creating a Socratic circle, which you can kind of see here.
It was so cool. Love
So
it.
half of the students sit on the ground, these floor pillows, and then I had a lot of students who were kind of jittery, and they wanted to stand, so they were standing like on their knees on chairs and trying to kind of balance, and so I was afraid of that. So I reached out to parents, and I got these high tables, these like bar height seats, so that students who wanted to stand could do that. And like you were saying, Alyssa, I wanted this classroom to feel like it was ours and it was their space to move around. So with that, we removed seating charts altogether. So every single day, every single hour, they can choose a brand new seat. Every student has a book box on their table, and every desk has standardized textbooks. So no matter what seat you go to, you have the materials that you need, which allows for really flexible grouping and so much more space in the room.
I love it, love it. And did you get any pushback from your administrator or parents or even the kids?
A lot of parents were asking me, how is this going to work? This looks like a lounge and not a classroom. So you really do have to have your class management pieces set. You have to really talk about expected behaviors. And I think this is my third year doing this, and Ashley, as I said, replicates this across the district, and I think the proof has been in the pudding. I always tell parents that this is like, you know, we have these uniform heights set for our students, and they wouldn't like it if I went and set all of their car seats and their mirrors to a set. So we want to really appeal to different modalities and adjust and make it flexible and comfortable for them to learn.
Awesome.
I had a question for you.
Sure.
What do you guys use for seating on the floor? That's always been my trouble with my seated desks, is not something that's comfortable enough and not something that's expensive.
Right. So
all I found was kind of like a doggy chair.
We started off with thrift store pillows. So these are all just thrift store pillows and pillows that people have donated. And so they're not plush. They're not amazing. But things just sit here, and they sit with their back to the desk, and every desk is equipped with a whiteboard. So this is actually their hard surface. So they're sitting here, and their materials are here. So they're durable enough. The pillows cost anywhere from $7 to $10 a piece, and if you get discounts, I mean, certain holidays, Home Goods or places like that will have them.
Perfect. Thanks. The ones I have, the kids are putting like 2 and 3 on, stacking them 2 or 3 deep.
Right. And so with that, you know, there are a lot of like ground rules as to what you cannot do with the pillows. They're stationed at the seat. They don't move around the room. So yeah, there's a lot of those pieces that you have to kind of tinker with.
Hey, John. So John, in his classroom, he's got these exercise balls that they're all sitting on. And then do you also have the little foot thingies? There's like the like exercise.
So we use a variety of kind of different seating methods. The seating desk, kind of like how Phillip has. I'm still working on how to get it so that they complain their bottoms are so hurting after time with the growing 6th graders. They have exercise balls, stools. We're trying a different standing desk model. I just took a step stool and put it on top of the desk so the kids can use that, so they can still have that seated desk, but then they can also transform that into a standing desk when they're working on different things. Just a simple step stool from IKEA that is the right about height for them. And then I'm working on get a couple of grants to get those real expensive standing desks with a little foot pedal.
Yeah.
Below them. But then we have a few ellipticals that the kids are doing as they're biking.
Wow.
So they're biking as they're working at the same time.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. When I was touring Canyon View and walking through your classrooms, you know, as soon as you walk into Alyssa's room, you're like, whoa, this is really cool.
Thanks.
You have all these things on the wall. The walls, I've never seen any walls like in your classroom. And so, like, what is the thought process behind all that?
When I created my classroom in the beginning, it was just an opportunity. I wanted students to know that it was a safe place for them to take risks and to dream, and I kind of took a risk by, you know, I'll give a little example. I have like a string tree over there. It's like the pyramid of success. And then, oh, John, he went out. And then I have like a math as well because I taught math. And then I have the front of my classrooms like little books, and it says dream. And it's just an opportunity for them to know that this is a classroom where they can allow themselves to be creative. And creative isn't what it looks like on the walls of my classrooms. Creativity is individual to every student. And for each student to know that and to really embrace their own creativity and explore what that is and bring that into their learning, that's what I really wanted to do with my classroom. So, and hopefully I'm successful in doing that.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Alyssa was teacher of promise, if you didn't know.
Oh.
Buddy. Same with Darren.
I think, like, building on what Phillip was talking about, people want to know how this is going to impact the learning of their children or the students in the classroom, right? And how. So I think classroom management is such a key piece to opening the doors to an environment like this to your kids. How do you handle the classroom management piece to this? Because I think probably a lot of teachers that's probably one of their first worries, right?
Phillip brought up a good point with parent communication. The same thing goes with the communication with your colleagues as well. I think as teachers, we like to be able to control every part of our environment. And part of the classroom design of flexible seating or alternative seating is really kind of letting go a little bit. Letting go of that control, not having everything be at that same monotone level or having the kids all that same height. And it takes a while. It takes an adjustment. And Phillip and Alyssa, maybe you can chime in on this part too, but it took a while for me to kind of allow myself to see a kid on an exercise ball at a different height than another kid who's sitting on the ground, at a different height of a kid who's sitting on a chair, and not have that be that natural distraction that it normally is. But
Yeah.
With the parent communication, it just kind of comes in. What works out the best has been back to school night. The parents sit on the ball, or the parents sit on something else, and they get to see it from the eyes of their child. And there hasn't been a lot of resistance to that fact. It's more just that communication and that understanding of something new and getting over that hurdle of the acceptance of here's something new, we're just going to try it out.
Right. To John's point, in my first year, I didn't have these bar height seats. I only had the standard and the lower ones, and I put the call out to parents, and so a parent actually donated just legs, and so I modified the pre-existing tables. But once they were in the room, I still treated these higher seats as kind of I don't know, they were just more difficult for me to accept. I was still not as flexible in my thinking as possible. I would only let certain students sit there, or they were kind of tokenized. And so in eradicating that policy and just truly having an open classroom, I found that my students aren't racing to a death. There's nothing special about them. One of them asked me, do kids rush to the bottom seats, or do they rush to the high seats? I say, no, they found the seat that fits them. So back to that analogy about your car seats, you're going to find the fit that fits you. So despite the novelty of the high seat, if you're truly more grounded, more centered when you're sitting in a standard seat, that's going to be the fit for you. And it's putting that decision in our students' hands and making them aware of what works for them and what doesn't.
That's good. I love that both of their classrooms, my classroom is more traditional in the sense, but I have the just, in groups collaborating, but definitely something I want to embrace with the different seat arrangements. I love, Phillip, your class. That's so fun. And it looks like the students are really learning. And here we really, classroom management looks different, obviously, in 6th grade than it would in kindergarten. So I really try to create an environment where students can feel comfortable with each other and can encourage each other. We do this thing at the end of the week. It's called Cheers for Peers. We do it on our staff here, and the students award each other like a little medal. It's this little medal I made, and it's supposed to be somebody that they really don't know, something that they've noticed in somebody, and it really is fun. They've nicknamed it Cheese for Peas. I don't know why. Instead of Cheers for Peers, it's hilarious, and they really look for, are we doing Cheers for Peers? Can we do Cheers for Peers? So it's fun to have that at the end of the week. They look forward to it and know that somebody is going to be recognized. And it really helps to create that kind of team atmosphere in our classroom, because we do a lot of collaboration and group projects. As John, we teach the same subject areas, and I know Phillip probably does as well in 5th grade. So it's important to have that in the classroom in upper grade.
Yeah.
Okay, last week we had a problem getting questions from the viewers, so I'm hoping that you guys are able to click on the little question Q&A thing and then ask a question.
Like a little tile thingy.
Yeah, click on the little tile thingy. It's
Tile
up,
thingy, and
up
then the
here.
Q&A.
And we got a question. It's from Miss Jenny Fritz, who you may
Jenny.
know. She is
She was in the background.
yeah, she said hi back here. She is the secondary ed tech TOSA for Irvine, and she wants to know what is behind the blue curtain.
What?
Who has a blue curtain in their class?
Not me.
Not me.
I have a green curtain. Is that the curtain?
Maybe it's a green curtain.
It's my birthday water bottles and my birthday straws. That's what's behind there. I give them
Yeah,
little
nice
silly
label.
straws and happy birthday. I don't know if that's what she's asking, but that's what's behind that curtain.
It does look good.
That's hilarious.
Okay, so we encourage everybody to ask questions of our 3 guests here for anything that you have a question about. And I love how Alyssa was saying was complimenting Phillip on his classroom setup, and she's like, I want to try that too. And that's what this show is all about, is just seeing these ideas that people are doing across the district, and inspiring each other to do things and go out there and take risks like this.
Right. I mean, to your point real quick, Darren, we had dedicated here at Portola Springs last week, and my room was one of the ones that people toured, and they're saying, oh my gosh, this design is so incredible, yada, 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 you know, you're so lucky here at this new school. And I told everyone, this is the exact same design I had last year at Springbrook. So no matter where you are, I want to encourage you, take the risk, take the jump, and try it out and see how it works. And I guarantee you, it's going to be a messy start. I mean, it will. But if you teach and reteach those expectations, and you really talk about the big picture idea of why we're doing this, it's totally, you know, replicable.
Yeah.
Have a lot of your staff members embrace a similar environment like you have set up at your school?
Last year at Springbrook, I think every single upper grade classroom had a Socratic circle.
That's
so
great.
Everyone had the U shape. Our Montessori 4, 5, 6 teacher does have those exercise balls, but if you walk down the halls at Springbrook, everyone had kind of U-shaped design.
Cool.
And they do fluctuate. Some people do go back to rows every once in a while, but I think everyone tried it out to see how it worked for them.
Yeah.
I can tell you that, you know, having been around the district, that I'm seeing it, Phillip. I'm seeing it, your influence around the district. And for instance, I was at Culverdale, and there were several classes at Culverdale that have lower desks, and it's like, hey, that's pretty cool. I like what you're doing over here.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, let's see.
I think what Phillip says is right. You have that student buy-in in there. There really hasn't been an issue with accessibility or kids wanting too much. The fact that you haven't had a need for that sign-up sheet or anything like that. They really just take it upon themselves, work together, and find what suits them at that appropriate time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the other thought
What's
process behind it is social grouping. You know, when they're moving on from 5th and 6th grade, going into middle school, where they're sitting next to different people all day long. So this flexible seating allows them to try different social groups and see what works for them academically versus socially, and to try those different arrangements out. There you are, John. I can see you.
Every now and then.
Okay, we got another question. It was from Jenny Fritz again. Jenny's really loving the show, I think. She wants to know if, like, a lot of times people that are placed in portables feel like they've been exiled. And do you have any ideas for them? Like, I feel like you could do any of this stuff in there.
Yeah.
You know? Alyssa, any thoughts on that?
I mean, using the outside, you know, fluid, you know, if you have upper grade, obviously lower level, you can't necessarily, you have to have a little bit more supervision. But with upper grade, you know, use that outside as your environment. You can, you know, take the kids over. We do a lot of stuff outside, do lessons outside. So the kids love, I mean, for some reason, it's like a huge change for them to step outside the classroom and learn outside. I don't know why, but I'm sure then it's just different. They love, you know, changing it up every once in a while and not coming in and sitting in the desks or sitting on the, you know, ground. It's fun to just have that variability.
I love the fact that all three of you were very purposeful in how you set up your room and all the things that make up the environment for your kids, and it's all centered on learning, right? And really, that's the ultimate goal for us as educators is getting these kids to learn. And I'm just wondering, like, what's next for you guys? What do you got on the horizon?
I want to try a real standing desk that has like a foot pedal on the bottom. That's the new grant that I'm writing out for and checking it out. But it's really for the kids. It's all about choice, and it's about what choices can we give them to help make them better lifelong learners. That's the way we kind of feel as adults, where unless we're paid for it or get something out of it, we don't have that choice of doing something, we lose interest in it. I think giving them that element of choice, whether it's in classroom design, whether it's something as simple as all right, here are the 3 things we need to do for the rest of the day. Let's collaborate and work on what order would you like to do them in. And they always tend to want to do PE first and then move on to language arts. But it's part of that student buy-in. It's part of what we can do as a team to help coach them and make them more responsible and take more ownership of their work and their learning along the way.
To echo John's point about student choice and them being in the driver's seat, I think my next level is now do that with the curriculum. So we're doing, these things from Cassie Erkins about the targets. So every different unit of study, making sure kids know that these are our 6 different targets, and then on assessments, having them reflect about, what choices did you make to hit these targets or to miss these targets, and then how are you then going to be resourceful and use, our flipped instruction videos or your previous lessons to then prove to me that you've hit this target. And we're removing, the idea of aiming for the A. You're not aiming for specific skills. So just like here, these choices in your seating make you successful. The choices in your academic path and your grouping are going to make you more able to hit those learning targets. So that's kind of how I'm bleeding it in over.
Yeah, and we've embraced, to echo what Phillip said as well, and John, for me at least, it would be to maybe try some different seating arrangements in my classroom. And also with academics, we've really embraced learning targets for math this year, just like Phillip has, and to see students really take personal ownership of their learning and of what they need to specifically work on. We have little targets on graphs that some of our other colleagues had made for us, and they graph themselves every time we do an activity that's related to that target. They'll put a little graph on where they see, and the goal is for them to get closer and closer towards the bullseye. We talk about how everybody might not end up at the bullseye when we're done doing that topic, but it's like, what are you going to do? How are you going to take personal ownership over that target in order for you to be successful on the unit test or whatever is to come in the future?
This is fantastic. Fantastic. John, go ahead.
Oh, it translates into their homework too. Like we could tell them, choose 10 problems to study for the unit test, look at your learning targets, which 10 do you want to do? And they come back the next day and we say, justify which 10 do you want to choose? And they say, well, I did these 5 because I wasn't quite here on this learning target, and these 3, but then I really wasn't sure about those 3, so I did another additional 3. And a lot of them really did a lot more work than they were required to do because they had that choice. They realized and took better ownership of, here's where I am, here's the work that I need to do in order to accomplish my goal.
Right, and what we're doing is arming them with the tools, right? We're not making the decisions for them. So the fact that they're taking the initiative, like for instance, I had a kiddo who got an A on her mid-chapter checkpoint, but she realized that despite having that A, that 92, there was still one target that she was weak on. So instead of resting on her laurels and saying, "Yep, I got an A, I'm done," she knew that she had one target to work on. Figure out, how am I going to get over this hump?
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, it creates that growth mindset, district-wide, our goal in students, to have that always be, how can we always be growing? An A isn't an A, but no matter, like Phillip said about percentages, there's still areas of improvement. Even if you have gone to that 100%, there's still opportunity for them to grow in those learning targets, whether it be challenged or do differentiation activities in those targets.
How awesome. I don't know if Catherine Holmes is watching this, or Alyssa Honeycutt, or listen to you guys talk about Cassie Erkins and the stuff that you learned there. It's like, bravo to you guys. Well done. Well done. Okay, let's see. We don't have any more questions, but I have one for you. Have you guys experienced any pushback from the way that you have set up your classroom? How do your teammates feel about the way that you got things set up?
It all depends on who you work with. We have such collaborative and positive teammates that we work with.
Yeah.
It's never been an issue for us, and it's just around our school, it's the same thing. It's always that it's the, I'll have to check that out, and that's how you build that environment. Is they come and they check it out, and I've had my exercise balls for 7-8 years, and this is the first year where other teachers are trying them out in their classrooms, sometimes out of necessity for some of their students.
Right, and John's such a resource for for teachers at our school. He always is finding new things, and I'm learning so much from him. I learn so much from him all the time, and And just he has some great ideas, and he really incorporates that into his classroom, and the students, really thrive in his classroom. So it's wonderful to see him just always be taking risks. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, as far as questions and feedback, I think parents were a little weary at first, my first year, but after, word spread in the community, and I had 1 year under my belt with this arrangement, and people were successful, I think that all of those worries were kind of washed away. And so now it's just a norm. This is the way things work in here, and this is where thinkers come to think, despite these groovy pillows on the ground. Like, we're still doing the real work here. And I think, just having some experience is going to speak for itself.
Yeah. Okay, like our time is running out. I want to thank you guys for sacrificing your lunch today. It means a lot to me, and I'm sure that all the people that are going to watch this and are watching it right now are going to really appreciate this stuff that you guys had to say today. And really, it all comes back to it not being, cookie cutter, and giving everybody the freedom to express themselves. And we all teach differently, and there's no right or wrong way. So that's what makes Irvine so great to work for, right? We're given that.
I think it's John.
Come on, John. You're killing it.
My kids are back.
Okay. Thank you, Phillip. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much.
And Jon and Alyssa, thank you so much.
Thanks.
It was so cool to hear you guys talk and collaborate and just hear that conversation going on. And really, I thank you so much.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Great.
All right,
Bye.
guys. Thanks, guys. Bye.